The Palestinian resistance, in particular, the shadow unit that belongs to Al-Qassam Brigades, which is the armed wing of Hamas, was seen today in Rafah. Rafah is an area way beyond the yellow line that Israel drew in Gaza, which is the initial withdrawal line that Israel is supposed to remain in up until the entry of phase 2. However, all of a sudden, we saw the shadow unit inside of Rafah helping to get or try and find some of the Israeli prisoners of war in that area. How is that happening exactly? Well, firstly, let's have a look at this shadow unit in Rafah and how they were moving in that area. The people are cheering them, of course. Everyone is cheering the Palestinian resistance, but they were moving here in Rafah, again, an area that is supposed to be under control of Israel. They shouldn't have, or to say the least, based on the developments that we had so far, to withdraw from this area. As a matter of fact, they consider this to be an area which is a very strategic area in Rafah. But again, under the watchful eye of the Israeli soldiers, these members of Al-Qassam brigades were in the area to look for some of the Israeli prisoners of war in coordination with the Red Cross. How did they go there? And why did Israel allow them all of a sudden? How can Israel allow the armed wing of Hamas, the organization that they said they want to eliminate, be in an area under the excuse of, looking for the remaining prisoners of war who Israel killed in Gaza and buried there, from entering that location? Well, we had a couple of clarifications coming from Israel. Israel said the following earlier on in Israeli media, that it was due to the pressure, listen to this, under pressure from the mediators and fear of a confrontation with Hamas, the IDF is withdrawing from the area where they are searching for casualties. Well, in essence, let's read between the lines here. Israel had to withdraw with its tail between its legs because this is what was agreed upon. According to them, there is pressure, and they're complying with that pressure like obedient slaves. And also, they don't want a confrontation with the top-level, elite forces of the Palestinian resistance because they wiped their heads in the sand of Gaza. They eliminated them in Gaza. They don't want more bad memories, especially after a declaration of a ceasefire. As a matter of fact, what Israel said as well is that searches are also happening in Khan Yunis with heavy equipment. This is the same heavy equipment that Israel was banning so far from entering the Gaza Strip, and now they're allowing heavy equipment to go into Gaza and in areas that are in the central part of Gaza and the northern part of Gaza. So we have certain developments here that were considered to be red lines for Israel, meaning that things aren't going the way Israel wanted, nor the way that Benjamin Netanyahu wanted. Benjamin Netanyahu wanted Hamas to give all of the Israeli prisoners of war, dead or alive, before they even make any sort of move. Now they're out, allowing Hamas and the other Palestinian movements and elite units in the armed resistance to operate in Rafah. And they're not doing anything. As a matter of fact, they're withdrawing from the area without making too much of a fuss about it. And they're saying that there's pressure, from the mediators. Pressure from the mediators. You know very well what's happening. What's happening is Israel is understanding its place now. As a matter of fact, a lot of the talk that's happening now in Israel, by the way, is Benjamin Netanyahu and his government trying to deny that the United States is owning them and controlling them now, dictating what they do and what they don't do. You know, Netanyahu is saying, oh no, we're an independent state. When he's asked about something to do with the developments of the West Bank and the American refusal to allow Israel to annex the West Bank, he'll say, you know, we're partners. They don't, you know, we make our decisions and we're independent, but we're partners with the United States. He doesn't stretch the boundaries. Clearly, we have a shift in what's happening. As a matter of fact, we had more reports today that a lot of aid went into the Gaza Strip alongside the heavy equipment that now they were talking about, following several Israeli restrictions. Egypt sent 10,000, well, they're saying 1,000 here, 10,000 other reports as well, of aid to Gaza. Now, that's only from the Egyptian side. This aid convoy consists of 423 trucks. We're starting to see more and more aid going in. Mind you, that's it's going to take a long time to lift the suffering and the intense pressure on the Palestinian population, especially after 2 years of full-blown genocide and starvation campaign. You know, some people still suffer from the after effects of the starvation campaign and are dying because of it. That needs to be clear. However, the fact that these numbers are now increasing and Israel is allowing more to go in, again, not because they want to, but because they're forced to, with their tail between their legs, obedient, shows that we have a change of dynamics here. And the talk in Israel now, by the way, is that the war ended. You know, Netanyahu didn't officially declare that the war ended, saying, you know, the war ended. We get that the war ended. And Mr. Trump, according to them, you know, is now the emperor, and Benjamin Netanyahu is a member of that court, an entertainer in the court.